Hello, Patriots. Welcome to the show. We got some news in the air. I don't know if it is serious at all. I really have no clue if it's serious. I don't think that it's serious. It could be. You never know with Donald Trump in this administration. You really and truly have no idea what is going on, what they're going to do, what they're legitimate about, and what they're just stoking the fires with. Now, recently, the news and the headlines have come out that the Department of Justice is going to take steps to outlaw weapons purchases for transgender individuals. I'm confused for a couple of reasons. The first thing I'm confused about is if they're going to do it through executive order. Number one, the President of the United States does not make law. He has some power with executive orders, but it's not what you think it is. It's not law. He can change federal policies and things of that nature. So I don't know how they're going to get this done without legislating it through Congress. I don't know how the Republican Party is going to take a stand and regulate it and implement one of the most intense and discriminatory, frankly, gun control measures in the history of America. How is the Republican Party going to do that and get away with it? Or is this just another attempt by the Donald Trump administration to send liberals off the edge and now start supporting gun rights? Now, there is an argument here, and this has been an argument that people on the left and the people on the right have had and have actually agreed on. Should mentally ill people own guns? I think that the majority of Americans would agree that no, they should not. The problem is that's a great theoretical statement, and that's an awesome theory, but who determines if somebody is mentally ill? And what system do we use to make sure that mentally ill people cannot purchase firearms? Is it a blacklist that FFLs have? Is it politicians that pass a law? And who determines the level of mental illness? Because for years, decades, this has been the standard. This is the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders. This book is the first book, one of the first episodes I ever did on this show about gender dysphoria. I got this in college. I was a psychology major in my undergrad, psychology and sociology. And when they talk about trans people, what they're talking about is gender dysphoria, except there's a distinction between trans people and gender dysphoria in the book of mental illness, right? The Diagnostic and Statistics Manual. We're on the 5th edition of mental illness. There's a difference. Gender dysphoria people actually, I'm going to read from it. But there's something significantly different than between an individual who firmly believes in their heart of hearts, in their core, that they are the other gender, and somebody who just likes to wear a dress and pretend they're a woman. There's a difference. They're not both the same person. So who makes the distinction between that? And is it somebody who identifies as somebody of another gender? Do they have to have hormone injections? Or do they have to have a certain level of transition? How are you even going to determine that? How are you going to determine that? It's a very not likely that this is going to be something that seriously goes through. But let's play for a second that hypothetically it is. That hypothetically, the United States federal government is trying to disarm a population from owning firearms, who 99.9% are all on the left side of the aisle. Is that something we should be doing? I understand the argument that it's a mental illness, but not all mental illnesses are dangerous. There are mental illnesses very common in this country. For example, sociopathy is very common in this country. Psychopathy is very common in this country. These are people who have zero emotion, connection, love. They don't even love their own children. This is common in this country. You don't know it. You don't see it. You don't experience it for who they are, but they exist. They're prominently in industries like they're corporate executives a lot of the time. They don't care about anybody else for themselves. Narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder. Like, these people sometimes don't have a feelings or emotions or love or care for other people and only care about themselves. But that does not mean that they're going to kill people if they get their hands on a firearm. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Police officers, firefighters, EMTs, paramedics, military veterans, very common. Doesn't mean you're dangerous. These are all considered mental disorders. So if gender dysphoria is one, or cross-dressing is one, then how can you make it law that these people can't have guns, but the rest of the people with mental disorders can get firearms? How is that going to happen? Now, the DSM-5 kind of works like this, right? A psychiatrist or a therapist, they want to diagnose their patient. through their education and experience, they feel that this person may be suffering from X disorder. They open up the book, they go to the disorder on the page, and then they find out the qualifying factors. So this is gender dysphoria in children, okay? A strong desire to be one of the other gender, or an instance that one is the other gender, or some alternative gender different from assigned gender. In boys, I love how it says in boys and not in whatever. In boys, a strong preference for cross-dressing or simulating female attire, or in girls, assigned gender, a strong preference for wearing only typical masculine clothing and strong resistance to the wearing of typical feminine clothing. That could just be a tomboy. A strong preference for cross-gender roles in making-believe play or fantasy play. A strong preference for toys, games, or activities stereotypically used for the other gender. A strong preference for playmates for the other gender. So this is somebody that I want you to understand this, and I'm reading this to you so that you understand this. The criteria is not violence. There's no criteria in gender dysphoria that suggests that these people are prone to violence. It's not homicidal thoughts, school shooting thoughts. None of these things are in the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual that would diagnose you with gender dysphoria, but from the American Psychiatric Association. Now, yes, it is a mental disorder. It is. I'm not saying that it's not. But what you need to understand as the listener is that not all mental disorders are dangerous. They're not. This is not a situation where, oh my God, somebody with gender dysphoria is going to end up in a mental institution. That's not how this works. Are some of them dangerous? Of course. Yeah, 100%. The most dangerous part is when we start injecting them with medicines, with hormones, changing testosterone levels, changing chemical levels inside of the body. That is what is altering behaviors. Now, the right to own a firearm is crystal clear. I mean, it's crystal clear. It's been reiterated through every court ruling that has ever existed. And it applies to every single citizen, regardless of stature or personality, or if they like to wear dresses or not. You're allowed to have a gun. There are plenty of trans people in the world that have guns and don't hurt anybody. You know, this shall not be infringed is literally the last line. A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Is the trans community, are they not people? I agree that there are people in the trans community that are homicidal and suicidal. I think it's 1 out of every 4 people with gender dysphoria commit suicide. If they're suicidal, they're homicidal. If they're suicidal, you shouldn't be able to have guns if you're that unstable. But there are plenty of cross-dressers out there that are perfectly fine, that go to be firefighters. They're firefighters at night, and then they cross-dress during the day. It happens. The cops, too, military people. Like, it's out there. I'm not saying that I agree with it or I like it, but it's true, and it doesn't necessarily mean that somebody's violent. But the talking point is to ban guns for trans people. Now, the videos are going around. This is all obviously stems from the shooter in Minneapolis, which a new video just came out of him purchasing a firearm. Let's Let's take a look at this.
Of evil.
You know, the first time I watched all of this, I literally feel like I have to take a shower afterwards.
But when Robin Westman walked into this gun shop just days before shooting and killing children in Minneapolis,
we are devastated by this.
owner Corey Krause says there were none of the classic warning signs.
He was friendly, he was jovial, he smiled, laughed, asked questions. He interacted with 3 of our staff in a friendly manner.
Cameras at Frontiersman Sports in St. Louis Park first recorded the would-be shooter just after 12:30 p.m. the Saturday before the attack. Wearing a shirt with "A Place for Well-Being" on the back, they spent 40 minutes browsing, holding, and aiming a wide variety of guns. At one point, even speaking with a fellow customer. None of the behaviors Krause says his staff is trained to look out for.
What could I have done? What could I have caught? There was nothing.
These are still questions you ask yourself.
Because you had 3 layers of seasoned veteran employees that know this stuff, and they can sniff this stuff out from a mile away.
Krause says the shooter did not get any of the guns or ammunition used in the attack from his store, ultimately presenting a valid permit to
There's no signs. So what are you supposed to do? You can't get rid of the guns. The guns are here to stay. It's not logical to get rid of the guns. We tried it with drugs. We got rid of all the drugs in the world. They're illegal. Can't have them. They're friggin' everywhere. They're more relevant than guns are. This is him shopping again. And he didn't buy the guns he used in a school shooting there. But for what they're saying is that he was just normal and no problem. And they didn't see any signs. Typically, you don't see any signs in these types of situations. You see this a lot with serial killers or murderers. They have a wife for 20, 30 years, and the wife has no idea when the cops come knocking on the door. He just looks like a normal person. Was there any signs that his family knew anything? I mean, I don't know. He looks normal to me. Besides the scrunchie in his hair. That's a little weird. But of course, the trans community does have issues. Okay. Here, well, let's do this first. Here's Jesse Waters talking about the guy going into Robin Westman.
You need to try less.
Minneapolis trans shooter shopping for guns just days before the massacre. He bought a .38 special revolver, which wasn't used in the attack. The guy who sold it to him says he didn't see any red flags.
This person said all the right things. They checked all the right boxes, asked all the right questions. They were friendly, talkative, making jokes, laughing. The person just did not fit the profile whatsoever.
So how are you supposed to ban these people? How are you supposed to do that? It doesn't make any sense. And of course, there are videos going across the country of, violent trans people. They're out there. They are. They are. But this is a problem that it's almost unsolvable. It's a very hard thing to solve. You cannot restrict the rights of gun-owning Americans. It is an inherent right that you have to own and possess firearms. No matter who you are. No matter who you are. Now, you can forfeit those rights when you violate the rights of another. Okay? Trans people, just by being trans, did not violate the rights of another. If you commit an armed robbery, you've violated the rights of another, or a forcible felony. If you committed a kidnapping, you violated the rights of another. Then you forfeit your Second Amendment right to own a firearm. That's the difference. But, I mean, of course, this is the conversation. And the right is trying to, I swear, the world is a twilight zone, because the right is trying to do gun control and the left is trying to stop it. What is happening?
The Justice Department is reportedly considering banning transgender individuals from owning firearms following a recent shooting.
As this tragedy at Annunciation Catholic Church makes clear, there is still so much more that must be done. We cannot rest when gun violence remains the leading cause of deaths of kids and teenagers.
That's not true. We'll cover that when this is done.
We cannot rest when there have been over 90 school shootings in this country in 2025 alone.
The proposal follows the Minneapolis shooting at a Catholic school. Conservative commentators have expressed support, citing concerns about violence. However, the move could face legal challenges and has been criticized as discriminatory. The DOJ is consulting officials on the legality of such a ban if it were to be created. The Justice Department is...
The next administration that gets in is going to ban veterans with PTSD if they open the door for this. And, you know, videos are circulating of all the trannies, right? Let's listen to this one. Of all the violence.
Harder, but you need to try less being like somebody you're not and start to humble yourself and be somebody that God made you to be. He didn't make a man to be a woman. He made the man to be a man. He didn't make the woman to be a man. He made the woman to be a woman. And this is the truth. What are you going to do? Come attack me now? I should. Hey, man, that's up to you.
I don't know if that's... So this trans person is pointing a gun at this preacher. I mean, this looks like it's Captain Jack Sparrow's pistol. I don't really know, like, if he's trying to get the booty or what he's trying to do here. But so this is circulating, a trans person pulling a gun because words are violent.
It's up to you. If you want to pull that on me, well, God bless you. So you just threatened me with a gun. You just pulled a gun on my face. Man, Lord have mercy on you. This means that you don't even know who you are. Nope, I still love you. Even though you pulled a gun on me, I still love you. I still bless you. Harder, but you need to try less being like somebody you're...
I will say they are more susceptible to situations like that because they are mentally ill, but some of them are fine and function fine in society and just want to pretend to be the opposite sex, even though it's not true. And the treatment should not be affirming care. The treatment should be telling them that, like this, you're wrong. You're not a girl. You're never going to be a girl. Something's going wrong with your ticker. We need to fix it. But here's a compilation of some angry trans people.
Angry.
Go out, buy a gun.
It's okay to be angry.
Get out of my face now!
If you try to stop me from going into a woman's bathroom,
Excuse me, it's ma'am.
be the last mistake you ever make.
It is ma'am.
Find that anger.
Just because. Hey!
Harness it to do good in the world. This anger.
Done, man. We can just make a batch and say that some of us well.
Anger is probably my primary source of motivation.
You want to call me sir again?
The thing is, you don't have to leave.
You loser, bitch.
For everything that I do.
Cut that out now, or you'll go home in an ambulance.
I'll you up.
It was a call to action or a call to arms.
It's not! Sorry, man.
Don't be afraid to show your anger.
Now, a lot of this is political rhetoric. The reason they're acting out this way, the reason that they are behaving this way is because they are mentally ill. but they've been manipulated by a political party that uses the mentally ill for their advantage. They use them as useful idiots. Go out and protest. Yell at the people on the street praising God. Anybody who opposes what you think or feel is an animal that needs to be stopped. They're violent. Their words are violent. They use them as their army to protest anything. They use their weak minds and they manipulate them and they call them to violence. I mean, we've seen it all the time. We see it all the time. You know, Maxine Waters, you find them and you tell them and you get in their face. I mean, our politics, and particularly the left's violence, is completely out of control. Completely out of control.
So right now I want to talk about my experience as a trans woman going.
You are a full-blown man, dude. How hard is it for a therapist just to say that? I understand how you feel. I understand that you have certain feelings inside of you, but they are not real. And you need to come to terms with that.
To the spa. I'm not going to mention the specific spa I'm at for safety reasons. They have been pretty accommodating. I wouldn't even say accommodating, I would say accepting of my gender identity. And I don't want that to change if I let the internet know where I've been able to be safe as a trans woman. Anyway, I have been to this spa before. The first time I was here, I was the only one here when I showed up, and the woman asked me, and I think I had my hoops in, but I probably had like around the same amount of facial hair I have now. I didn't have lip gloss or anything. I don't think I had lip gloss on that, but I'm pretty sure I had my hoops in, or I had earrings in.
Okay.
And I had some facial hair. And that first time, the woman asked me which locker room, what gender you identify with. And I said, I'm a woman. I identify as a woman. And then she took me to the female locker room.
That's insane.
And that was the first time I had been in a female locker room. And it was so humanizing because it was set up to humanize.
What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? What do you mean humanizing? What on God's green earth are you talking about? The force to accept a delusion and then people resisting the force to protect the delusion is what is causing the violence from the left. Here is a clip from MSNBC. I haven't watched it. I try not to watch clips. Sometimes I watch them. This I have not watched. It's about the potential ban on trans guns.
According to new reporting from the Washington Post, the Trump administration is considering preventing transgender people from owning guns. This is in the wake of the shooting last week at a Minneapolis Catholic school. A spokesperson tells NBC News, quote, the DOJ is actively evaluating options to prevent the pattern of violence we've seen from individuals with specific mental health challenges and substance abuse disorders. Joining us now, senior staff writer at The Trace and contributing writer at Rolling Stone, Mike Spies. Mike, I wanted to have you back to talk about this because last week in the wake of the shooting, in the moments after the shooting, we had you on and we had quite a lively discussion here about what it's going to take to stop gun violence. And on the one hand, you had someone bringing up that this person was transgender or they had gender issues, gender dysmorphia, and that's happened before.
It's not gender dysmorphia. It's gender dysphoria, idiot. There's a body dysmorphic disorder, where people look in a mirror and they weigh 80 pounds, but they see themselves as a very fat person, but they really see themselves as to be fat, which I think most of that is BS. I'm not even going to get into the mental disorders and how, like I don't believe that somebody firmly believes that they're a woman inside. I think people act out and they do things for attention when they're depressed. And sometimes the more depressed they are, the more attention they seek, the more drastic their measures are. That's just my personal opinion, but I'm not a psychiatrist or anything.
Or and they're targeting religious schools, and that's dysphoria, excuse me, and that's part of the problem here. And then you had someone else saying, no, it's a much broader problem than that. It's everybody. Is it surprising to you that this administration is now trying to go after, a subsect of the American population?
Well, I think it's not super surprising because in part the administration already has a thing with respect to trans people in the first place. And then it's just generally been the Republican move for many years now in the wake of a mass shooting to latch
on the specifics of that of that person to try to say it's that person, not the guns.
Exactly. Unless it's
the guns didn't freaking do anything. That's such a piss poor argument.
Especially if the person is not advantageous to some other kind of narrative they want to advance. So again, we're talking about banning trans people from owning guns, which is insane, obviously, because there's no indicator at all that anyone who falls into that category is more likely to carry out a mass shooting. So that's just an obvious thing to say. But in general, mass shootings have been carried out by way more white supremacists, for example, avowed white supremacists.
That's not true either. That's not true. That the majority are carried out by white supremacists. I think the school shooting, the church shooting was one, maybe. These people think everything's a white supremacist. Everybody's a white supremacist.
Than trans people. No one was ever talking about banning white supremacists from owning firearms. And that means like Dylan Roof, who carried out the Emmanuel shooting in Charleston back in 2015, the Walmart shooting in El Paso, the Buffalo shooting at the supermarket. I could go on and on and on here. And the common thread throughout all of those is an avowed white supremacy.
But we haven't heard any desire. There's
been plenty of trans, non-binary, LGBTQ plus shooters. Plenty of them. I think 9 I can count. So but that's my point. I disagree with this move. I don't think that they're going to do it. I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I think it's a way for them to get the left to contradict themselves on guns.
Any sources saying that they want to ban white supremacists from owning weapons?
None. And actually, there's another funny thing, too. We're only talking about mass shootings here, but let's look at a different category of gun violence. Most gun death, year in and year out, is gun suicide, usually around 60%. And every single year, 80% of gun suicides.
Now, do black people? Oh, you won't? Oh, okay.
80% are carried out by specifically white men. And white men only represent 30% of the American population. That's a wildly disproportionate figure. So if you wanted to, that would be like saying if you want to greatly reduce gun suicide, let's say by 80%, ban all white people from ban all white men specifically from owning firearms. Is that an idea that we're willing to entertain and for?
It is interesting because.
But that's a poor argument, because the argument that the Trump administration is making is that it's a mental disorder and that they're mentally ill. So they want to ban mentally ill people from having firearms. By being white doesn't mean that you're mentally ill. So the left just can't argue. They can't come up with logical, sound arguments because everything they do is emotional. I disagree with the Trump administration, not because I think it's a bad idea, but because, this is a violation of your rights as a citizen. Red flag laws are a nightmare. They're not going to work. They're just going to give politicians and other people power over the individual that they don't deserve to have. The best way to stop gun violence is to carry a gun. Carry one. It won't hurt you to bring it with you. Just be responsible with it. Take a class. Get your concealed weapons permit. If you live in a state that doesn't allow you to have one, get the hell out of there. Guns are a part of our life. They're a part of American culture. There's like 3 times as many guns as the United States as there are human beings. And the whole point of having them is to protect yourself against tyrannical government.
When you're talking about the Second Amendment, usually the argument is you can't go anywhere near banning groups of people from owning a gun because that would be a violation of their Second Amendment rights. It almost made me wonder whether this was a trial balloon for the administration, either to see how the public might react to it, how the Second Amendment supporters might react to it, or to just put it out there that they're thinking about it and they know what the problem is and they want to do something about it.
Right. It's hard to tell. I mean, it's definitely the case that some gun rights groups, like the very hardline Gun Owners of America, already put out a statement saying that they're opposed to the ban, because I think there's a clear understanding that any ban is discretionary. So, like, per just what we were talking about, again.
If they do it for transgender people, the next administration could do it for white men because they're 80%.
Correct. Exactly. Yeah. Or just whatever. What are the main indicators for?
Let's move this to the side. What would stop this sort of gun violence?
Well, if we're gonna take
live in the reality we live in.
We're gonna live in the reality, which is banning semi-automatic weapons. Well, we won't talk about that because that's
a semi-automatic weapon is every weapon that's available. So the only thing you'll be able to have is a bolt-action rifle. That's not like you don't know anything about guns, dude. If you did, you wouldn't be okay with banning them. I mean, that's the thing is that these freaking lefties people don't know shit about guns, dude. They don't know anything about them. They've never been around them. They talk about them like just completely wrong. Just but don't talk about banning semi-automatics. Like a pistol is semi-automatic, a revolver is semi-automatic. So the only thing you want to keep around are bolt-action rifles or single ammo loading rifles. You're scared of the thing you don't understand, leftists.
Third rail. But if you want to make a big difference, you have to account for psychological factors that actually predict violent behavior. And that is...
I would say that that's a pretty strong one. I mean, and I think that that's the argument the Trump administration is making, sir. That they are prone to violence, right? Although not in the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual as an indicator of their disorder, they are prone to violence from what I believe are all the SSRIs and hormone pills that they're put on, because normal homosexuals are not more prone to violence. It's the people who are changing their chemical makeup of their body seem to be more prone to violence. And that's the argument that they're going to try to make. You're not making a valid argument. I mean, this is what's wrong with the left. I can't stand like this guy. You're in a nationally syndicated program, which is terrible, by the way. And you can't come up with a logical argument against this. This is the quality of people that are on television, which is why everybody's here listening to this show and not watching MSNBC. That's why the majority of Americans are fleeing to podcasters and talk shows, and even Democrats. So, they are too, because the talent's in the audience, man. It's not on the field.
To say, like, is someone extremely impulsive? Does someone have road rage issues? Does someone have anger management problems? Do they have alcohol problems? These are all things that you would account for in an actual comprehensive background check, as opposed to the system that we currently use.
That would be pretty burdensome.
Would be pretty burdensome. Certainly would be pretty burdensome. But the question is, do you want people to be safe, or do you just want to expedite commerce? And that's the purpose of the background check system as it is now, to expedite commerce.
All right. Mike Spees, really good to have you.
To expedite commerce. Like, shut up, dude. I'm more aggravated now. I'm more aggravated now. Let's listen to this from Fox. Let's hear what Fox News had to say.
We want to bring you this update as the Justice Department is considering ways to prevent transgender people from buying guns, according to multiple reports. The news comes 1 week after the deadly school shooting in Minneapolis. The suspect in that shooting was transgender. Justice Department officials are reportedly considering a range of options, but banning an entire group of Americans from purchasing a gun could be difficult to implement or even illegal. To help us understand what's possible, and we're going to be now joined by constitutional law expert Robert McWhirter. And Robert, let's start out right now what you thought about this news.
Well, it's a little shocking, and actually any gun owner should be very afraid, and the National Rifle Association should be up in arms about this proposal. Look, if you're going to say that a diagnosis of gender dysmorphia, which is part of the foundation of transgender.
He called it dysmorphia too.
Is a basis to take away guns. Well, why not somebody who's clinically depressed? Do they all get their guns taken away?
Yes.
What about somebody who just has a neuroses about, I don't know, whatever, and all of a sudden you're making a justification to take away their Second Amendment right to bear arms?
Yep.
And this is the thinnest of bases which to do it. Transgender people are usually 4 times more likely to be victims of crimes rather than perpetrators of crimes. And the people who have committed mass shootings have been overwhelmingly heterosexual men who are called cisgender, but let's just say heterosexual men. So to say that you're going to, kind of go after transgender people, frankly, I just think this is an attempt to create a narrative about the school shooting and the tragedy that occurred with the kids at Mass, and to try to take this focus as how how this has something to do with the culture wars, other than the fact that we don't have gun laws that keep guns out of the hands of people who are dangerous.
And Robert, I mean, just how would this even work for gun owners in the stores? I mean, how would they be able to ask someone, hey, are you transgender?
Well, that is a very good question. Because a lot of transgenders, you can't tell. I mean, some I suppose you can tell, but by looking at people. And then are you going to now ask for somebody's psychological profile? I mean, maybe if that's what you want as a basis for gun control, that you cannot buy a firearm unless you are deemed to be psychologically fit, then fine. But that's something that the National Rifle Association should be totally up in arms about.
And they're silent because this is a Republican. On both sides of the aisle, this is how it works, man. They're not going to criticize Republicans. Are not going to criticize Republicans, but this is not an acceptable thing that should be happening. Pam Bondi, and I've said it 100 times on this show, is very anti-gun. Pam Bondi used to be the Attorney General of Florida. She believes you should be able to take the guns and then due process later, and so does Donald Trump. He agrees with her on that portion of it, but he does believe in gun rights, which we're going to go over.
Have a psychological test before you can own a firearm. I don't think that they would be very happy about it. And how else are you going to tell whether somebody is psychologically fit and whether they're transgender or not?
Yeah, that's so true. And what else, too, Robert? What about other groups? I mean, we're talking about, what about veterans that suffer from PTSD? I mean, those are things you got to consider as well.
Well, absolutely. And I will say, there is a history of this country of excluding a specific group of people. And it comes from the region of the country that has the longest history of gun control. And frankly, surprisingly, that is the Deep South, which banned all black people from owning firearms, whether they were slaves or not. Free black people in the South could not own firearms. And that extended well past the Civil War, well through Jim Crow, et cetera. And, that's one of the bases of why the United States Supreme Court decided in the Heller decision that there is.
And that's what you need to understand. Why would the Southern Democrats not want black people to have guns during Jim Crow? Because they don't want them to be able to fight back. And that's why Democrats don't want anybody to have guns, because they don't want you to be able to fight back, just like they don't want you to be able to speak freely without the fear of persecution. It's tyranny. That's why the Second Amendment is so important. That's why it is the second thing in the Bill of Rights. The second. Because without it, you don't have anything else, man. You have nothing else.
An individual right to bear arms because of that racist past, excluding an entire group of people in America from the right to possess a firearm. So I don't see how this is all that different when you just
$179. That's a good deal.
Just decided to grab one group of Americans and say they should be excluded.
And it seems like, you know, when we see these tragedies play out in really any part of the country, but you just...
Yeah, everybody wants to blame everything. Everybody wants to blame everything except for the person. How can you prevent it? How can you prevent it? How can you prevent it? How can you stop it? I mean, it's an age-old question. And it's hard to even to discuss. It really is. You know, the Founding Fathers gave us that for specific reasons. For specific reasons, to defend ourselves against government, mostly, not really each other. You know, the left always makes the argument that they're for hunting, because back then, you know, there was no grocery stores. You had to hunt your food. So they said you could have bear arms so you can hunt. Bear arms. So you can have bear arms so you can hunt. So you can have the right to bear arms so that you can hunt. It's nonsense. It's not. It's to protect against tyrannical government. Just like free speech is not so you can, you know, speak to your wife. It's so that you can speak against the government. Here's more videos of trans people being violent. Let's look at this.
Technically, no. Yeah, no, you just support the genocide of trans kids, and you want everyone who's born to die. Yeah, no, you do. That is such an assumption. It's such an assumption, right, with all of this shit. Right. What is anti-trans on the table? Your TPUSA, you dumb bitches. Whatever. Fuck off my campus, hey, that's illegal? Yeah, sure. Whatever. That's assault, actually. Hey, Rachel, can you call campus security?
Yeah, I will, actually.
So... it is highly likely that that person could buy a gun, but has decided not to, and not to shoot everybody. So what's the problem? Do I think that that's a healthy person? No, I really don't. I don't. I think that they're deeply disturbed, just like I think this person is deeply disturbed.
I do wish death on transphobic people because they wish death on me and have caused death.
I wish death on transphobic people because they've wished death on me. That's just, they're victims of the propaganda of the left.
To many of my brothers and sisters in the trans community. I want to stab all of you to death as many times as I can. I want to stab you in the throat and twist it like I'm carving a fucking pumpkin. I want to shred you into tiny fucking pieces. I want to tear your fucking bones out from your goddamn body. I want to scoop your brains out with a fucking spoon. I want to eat your fucking flesh. Yes, I do wish death on trans.
Notice how he never said he wanted to shoot you. How he never went and got a gun and shot anybody. It doesn't make any sense logically. I get it. I know the left is the right's kind of fighting over this and blah, 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 just like they were with the flag burning, which you know where I stand on that. But Trump's had a pretty good record on guns, other than to take the guns first. He did ban bump stocks, which I was against. But let's listen to him here.
Mr. President, we're learning that there are now 2 deceased following that shooting at Florida State University.
Following and amid that, is there any changes that you want to see to gun legislation? Anything you see broken with gun laws in our
Well,
country?
I'm going to have to look. I'm a big advocate of the Second Amendment. I have been from the beginning. I protected it, and these things are terrible. But the gun doesn't do the shooting. The people do. It's a phrase that's used probably too often. I will tell you that it's a shame. I'm just hearing about it now. I just hear about it. I know the area very well. I know the school very well. I know everything about it. It's Florida. And we'll have more to say about it later. I have to
What do
see
you
what
mean when
happens.
you say there will be more to say about it?
Only in terms of what happened. As far as legislation is concerned, this has been going on for a long time. I have an obligation to protect the Second Amendment. I ran on the Second Amendment, among many other things, and I will always protect the Second Amendment.
Mr. President, what's the right of the United Kingdom?
But banning a certain class of people from buying guns is not. And what I love about Trump is that he is consistent. He has been consistent on this issue, other than a few minor exceptions.
She wants to take away everyone's gun. If you take away guns, you can't do it because people need the guns for protection. Now, entertainment, they want it, hunting, they want, different things. But they need weapons for protection in this country. People live out in the woods and they're not going to have a gun. If you look at some countries, I don't want to get them in trouble, but some countries have actually gone the opposite way. They had very strong gun laws, and now they have gone the opposite way, where they allowed people to have guns, where in one case they encouraged people to go out and get guns, and crime is down 29%. And remember this, what is the toughest gun law in the United States? Chicago. On July 4th, 117 people were shot and 17 died. The toughest gun laws in the United States are in the city of Chicago. You know that. They had 117 people shot. Afghanistan does not have that.
He's been pretty consistent, even back. This is like 1999. Let's listen to this. This is Trump in 1999 talking about guns.
Now, if you have a law that says no guns, the people that are law-abiding are going to go by that law. But the bad guys aren't, so they're going to have all the guns and the good guys aren't. Now, if you...
Duh. I mean, absolutely. That was a common argument back then. Even J.D. Vance, solid on guns. I don't know where this is coming from. This is Uncle Ted, my boy, who supports the show, gave us a shout out, endorses the show. You guys need to follow Uncle Ted Nugent. I'm trying to get him on again, but we'll see where that goes. But this is J.D. Vance, the whole administration, except for really Pam Bondi.
The idea that you can gun regulate your way out of this problem is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
We have so many firearms in the United States of America that even if I bought into the gun control argument, you're never going to be able to get sufficient guns off the streets.
Right.
So it's ridiculous. So we have to actually go after some of the root causes here. It also ignores, like Finland, for example, has a lot of guns, does not have nearly the same problem with these mass shooters that we do. I'd be interested to see what their mental health drug usage rate is too.
Did you ever see Ted Nugent debate Piers Morgan on gun violence?
No, I never did. I bet it's pretty good.
It's really good.
Ted's a smart guy.
He's a very smart guy. But Ted actually knows the statistics. So when Pierce was bringing up all the mass shootings and all the gun violence shootings, Ted said, do you know what they really are? Do you know how many of them are suicide? Do you know how many of them are gang violence? Do you know how many of them are cops shooting bad guys? Do you know how many of them are actually mass shooters?
Yeah, but I did know that actually. That when we talk about gun violence problem, what we're really talking about primarily is gang violence.
Yes,
right. That's where a lot of the gun violence, I think a majority of the gun violence is coming from, which is not to say it's not.
That's where that statistic is. I know I put a pin in it and I haven't come back to it, but now we're back. Where that statistic is that the majority of, the number one killer of children in the United States is guns. That's a complete load of shit. Where they're getting that statistic from is they're adding in adolescent gang members and adolescent suicides. So all these shootings in Chicago, in New York, are gangs shooting each other. They're teenage gangbangers. They're idiots. They're dying. They're living horrible lives. And then the Democratic Party takes those statistics in an effort to manipulate it and then say, oh, yeah, well, no, children. And then your normal suburban person who's kind of a swing burner goes, children? Like 7-year-olds? That's the number one cause of death? No, that's not the number one cause of death. That's not the number one cause of death. Here is friggin' Elon Omar on CNN with this Grinch talking about gun control.
I mean, that is a question that we've asked ourselves when Columbine happened back when I was in high school. We've asked ourselves that question when we saw little babies being slaughtered in Sandy Hook. We continue to ask ourselves that question. What I can tell you is that we collectively have a solution. We know that when we allow as a country for guns to be accessible to people in the easy way that it is in the United States, we continue to have these kind of tragedies. When we do not collectively as a community in the United States address mental health illness, when we don't see these children and communities that are impacted and, you know, look for signs that tell us.
Stop putting all of these kids on medications. Stop.
There is something wrong. We know that the assailant in this tragedy had a YouTube page where he was posting, you know, documenting the kind of insanity that unfolded today.
That's not true. It's like a video of him reading a dryer manual. The YouTube was automatically, the video was already shot out after the incident happened. It was set on a timer. What the hell are you talking about?
Somebody saw that, and what we want to change is our perspective. We want to be able to become a country that sees images like that and alerts someone. Because if that would have happened today, two beautiful angels would still be with us. A whole community would not be devastated, and these families would still have their loved ones going home to them tonight.
Yeah, you just can't even imagine what those parents are feeling tonight. And as you noted, I mean, it's every parent's worst nightmare. And when you look at this in terms of the...
It's horrible. But I would venture to say that there were plenty of employees at the school who were more than capable of responsibly carrying a firearm to the school. Without a doubt in my mind. Without a single doubt in my mind. I'm sure there's employees of the school who have a concealed weapons permit but are forced to leave them home when they go to work every day. And that might not even have stopped it. That's the thing. You know, I mean, I deal with a lot of libs doing this. Okay, it's what I signed up for. They're in my comment section. I did a whole video when the shooting happened that you need armed guards in school. You need armed guards in school. I'm over it. It's stupid not to. We protect our airports better than we protect our children. That should be one of the most secure places on earth. We protect our politicians. I want secure buildings with bulletproof glass that are locked in. Nobody can get in during the day. But I say that, and then I get the libs in the comment. They're like, "Oh, well, you've lied. Oh, like the cops that showed up, the good guy, they didn't do anything." So your solution is to do nothing. Your solution is to do nothing. There is nothing you are going to be able to do to stop the situation. That's a step in the right direction. We have them in Florida. There's armed guards in, I think, every school in Florida. It's its own job. They're like resource police officers, and that's what they do. They protect the kids all day.
This morning, sources say the Justice Department is considering a rule that could ban some transgender people from owning guns. Talks began after last week's school shooting in Minnesota, where police say a 23-year-old transgender woman killed 2 children.
I think it is.
It was a man.
Is disgraceful that Donald Trump is desecrating the memories of children who were stolen from their families just days ago by turning, their tragedy, their pain, their trauma into a political sideshow.
Sources say at the center of the discussion is gender.
That's what you guys do. That's what you do every time with the gun debate. That's exactly what you do.
Dysphoria, which refers to the distress experience when someone's identity and assigned sex don't match. The American Psychiatric Association stresses being transgender is not a mental illness. But sources say...
Okay, it is a mental illness. It is listed here in the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders. Right here. It's in here. What they're talking about is the American Psychiatric Association tried to weasel it out of here, but it's still in here. They left it in here because it's been politicized. And the Biden administration pressured them to take it out, to say it's not a mental disorder. It's always been a mental disorder. It's a friggin' mental disorder. It needs to be treated, not affirmed. They need therapy on how to, cognitive rehabilitation, on how to accept themselves for who they are and not what they want to be.
Federal officials are debating whether gender dysphoria could fall under a federal law that bans people adjudicated as a mental defective from owning guns. Currently under the law, that determination can only be made by a court or other lawful authority.
The actual question we are being asked in this moment is, do transgender people deserve the same rights and freedoms as everyone else in this country? And the Constitution says yes, regardless of how Donald Trump feels about that.
Data shows transgender people account for just 0.1% of mass shootings since 2018, far below the nearly 1% share of the population. A Justice Department spokesperson says the DOJ is actively evaluating options to prevent the pattern of violence we've seen from individuals with specific mental health challenges and substance abuse disorders. Now, studies show transgender Americans are 4 times more likely to be victims of violence than the general population. The Washington Post reported earlier this year that more trans people are turning to firearms for protection.
I don't believe they're more susceptible. It's something I don't believe. I don't believe that. I think that they're more mentally ill. I think that maybe they create scenarios where they get in confrontations and then maybe sometimes the other person is arrested. Maybe sometimes they're arrested. But I do think that they are more susceptible to be involved in crimes. Here's the Young Turks. We're not going to watch this whole thing, but I do want to hear what they have to say about it. Here's the Young Turks, and they're starting off with a clip of Carolyn Levitt.
I've seen a lot of calls for action, among these lawmakers saying that we shouldn't just be praying. One that I've seen on the right, actually, is calls for the FBI to institute a new class of domestic terrorism that involves trans ideology. Is that something that the administration would support?
I would have to check with the appropriate people on that.
And it appears that White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt did check in with the White House on that, because last week you just heard that senior reporter from the Daily Wire asking whether trans ideology should receive a terror designation. And it looks like now the White House is considering maybe banning trans people from being able to obtain guns, which makes me wonder, Cenk. How exactly would that work, right? When you have, let's say, transgender individuals like Blair White, who's very convincing, okay? Are you gonna do a genital test? Anyway, so here's what we know. Mary Margaret Olahan, who is the very reporter that you saw in that video, just reported today, breaking, the Justice Department is deliberating banning guns for transgenders as part of a range of options blocking mentally unstable individuals from committing acts of violence. The Daily Wire has learned, and an anonymous DOJ source also told the Daily Wire the following: individuals within the Justice Department are reviewing ways to ensure that mentally ill individuals suffering from gender dysphoria are unable to obtain firearms while they are unstable and unwell. And a DOJ spokesman would not comment on specific measures being considered, but said that a range of options is on the table. Now, do I think they're actually going to try to go through with this? I mean, I don't know. It seems like another squirrel that the Trump administration is throwing at us, but just for the sake of this discussion, I want to take this seriously, as if they're being serious about it and they're literally going to go out of their way to discriminate against one tiny group of people in this country based on a handful of shootings that happened or were carried out by transgender people.
But that's what you do to. You want to go after everybody with guns for one tiny group of people that commit mass shootings. I mean, maybe that's the lesson the Trump administration is trying to teach you.
We're going to give you the numbers in a second, but you know what this also does? It divides the country. It directs hatred and bigotry toward one group of people in this country. It leads to the types of conversations that we're about to have, where we break down how many mass shootings are committed by straight white males and how many are committed by transgender people. I'm sick of having these discussions.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, by the way, you wanted to put them in a designated like terror list or something? If you're on the terrorist watch list in America, you can still legally buy guns. Let that sink in for a second. Anyway, Cenk.
Well, yeah, because you haven't committed any crime.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So lots of things here.
Cenk's an idiot.
First of all, obvious discrimination. So if you're in favor of this, you don't believe in equality?
Well, no, because it's a mental disorder. I don't agree with the thing, but they're going after people with mental disorders. Now, for all we know, they come back and they say schizophrenics, anybody diagnosed with a mental disorder or prescribed this medication cannot purchase a firearm. Not just trans people.
Period. And you can say, hey, I have good reasons. If you're a radical right, so well, I really don't like those people. I just think that they're all mentally ill. Brother.
They all are mentally ill. Again, the Diagnostic and Statistics Manual of Mental Disorders. It's in here. You diagnose it from here. It has to be a mental disorder, which means you are mentally ill if you are diagnosed with anything in this book.
I mean, if you're a fascist, I can make that same argument about you, which is going to be point number 2 in a second, okay? But no, but the argument you can't make is, I want to treat everyone equally. You're not. You're saying these group of people should have less rights, okay? Argument number 2 is related. Be careful what you wish for if you're a right-winger. Because once you ban one group of people from owning guns, well, you just opened that door. Now we could ban other groups of people from owning guns, okay?
Yeah.
And we could do different things like, oh, well, you're doing it based on identity, trans, right? We could do it based on that, white males, right-wingers, et cetera. You could say, oh, mentally ill. Well, I think a lot of you are mentally ill. Okay, boom, here we go, open another door. Oh, they're domestic terrorists. Well, I think that there's right-wing domestic terrorists, opened another door.
Yeah.
Well, they call you domestic terrorists.
So if you're
I agree. I agree with them. I agree. 100% I agree. I don't think they're going to try to do this. I was disappointed. I was watching, I think, Michael Knowles today, and he was talking about how he supports it. Disappointed, but that's okay. I still love Michael Knowles. He's just wrong, and it happens sometimes. But you know, you got a right to own a gun, and without due process, they can't take it away from you. So you have a right to due process under the law, and if government wants to take your guns away, you have to violate the rights of another. I mean, even if they do it and it goes to the Supreme Court, I don't think the Supreme Court is going to uphold it. I don't. I think that this is a popcorn fart to get the people talking, to see what they can get away with. They just to change the Department of Defense to the War Department. That's what it used to be called. Why? I don't know. For a publicity stunt, it's a lot of publicity stunts with the Trump administration. And I think they're doing a great job. I'm not knocking them at all. I think J.D. Vance is the man. I think he should be the next president of the United States. I think Donald Trump is doing a phenomenal job. And there's just things that I disagree with. That's what's going to happen. You know, I'm here to be fair and report accurately. I'm not here to be a shill for the right. But thank you for tuning in. Make sure you hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Don't forget to go to ryanfsamuels.com/shop. Pick up cool shirts. Come and take it. Gulf of America. I got some cool Trump gear, some great J.D. Vance 2028 shirts. I got this cool Don't Tread on Me hat with the Sic Semper Tyrannis on the side. Pick that up. Use promo code SAMUELS, SAMUELS, to get 10% off. Thank you very much for tuning in, and I will see you on Monday night. Also, got a couple of really cool guests coming on. Some members of the White House staff are going to be here in a couple of weeks to discuss some things that nobody knows about. So stay tuned on that. The podcast is still growing, still crushing it. Thank you all. My family thanks you. And I will see you tomorrow. Monday. I'll see you Monday. All for the weekend. God bless all of you.
Thanks for tuning in to The Ryan Samuels Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.